sign me right up for Caio Borralho versus Israel Adesanya, because that win over Jared Cannonier, just the thing I like. He led with great 1-2s, he led with the lead knee, and he had that 5th round knockdown of Jared Cannonier, who is a very tricky fighter, and he's getting more technical in his old age. I don't want to say he's getting better. UFC Vegas 96 was this weekend, and not too bad despite being in the Apex. We had some pretty cool knockouts. So, guess what? Caio Borralho, he's legit. He's out of the Fighting Nerds camp, and I felt like his performance really did show just how good that camp is. You got to remember that camp over there has some really, really talented fighters. So obviously Caio Borralho is, what is he? 7-0 in the UFC. He's now probably not quite top 5. He'll probably be number 6 or 7. But you've got him, Felipe Douglas, Carlos Paredes. You got Thiago Moises is out of there. Okay. And then John Silva. That camp is good. And their game planning is very good too. And it really showed in this fight with Jared Cannonier. So, Caio Borralho, his first line of attack was the 1-2. And it hurt Jared Cannonier. I believe it was the second round. He just starts throwing him up the pipe. 1-2. And then he'll alternate 1-1-2. He'll alternate the speed on it, which I really like seeing. 1-1-2. So you're altering up the cadence like that. So that kind of throws your opponent off and all that. So I think the boxing of him, of Caio Borralho, is probably some of the, no, I can't say the better in the middleweight division, because you've got guys like Israel Adesanya, which is why I say book him to fight. So if you go and look at I'm mixing my wire, Boxing by Edwin Hazlett. This is one of the best books you can read on the sport of boxing. It always talks about the 1-2 and how important it is, and how important leading off with the jab is. And the very first punch landed in this fight was that heavy jab by Caio Borralho, and that set the tone for the whole fight. Now, granted, Jared Cannonier had his success. I can't speak today, guys. But at the same time, Caio Borralho was really in control for most of the fight, except for the 1 or 2 times he was kind of hurt. Another great thing that we saw from Caio Borralho was the hand fighting. Now, in boxing, you just pin your glove to the opponent's hands, but in MMA, with the open finger gloves, because we have the grappling aspect, you can literally grab the lead hand of your opponent, pull it down, and then fire your cross right in. Borralho filed out of southpaw a lot in this fight. He switches stances just like Cannonier now switches stances. And this hand fighting really did kind of change how Jared Cannonier had to fight. He had to throw the long looping punches, which, I mean, they're dangerous. Jared Cannonier brings a punch, but what Caio Borralho was really doing was making it harder for Jared Cannonier to just strike. That's it. You make it harder for him to strike. You make it just 1% harder. And as the fight goes on in round 3, 4, and 5, he has to come up with different things. He has to do something different. And grabbing that hand, pulling it down, it provides the open lane for the cross. Sure, it provides the jab or the lead hook as well. And, I thought that really kind of paid really good dividends for Caio Borralho. And I think that versus Israel Adesanya, that would be a great thing, because we saw Sean Strickland do that, right? We saw Sean Strickland grab and pull Izzy from the arm into like a teep and stuff like that. It was really cool. Borralho, I mean, he's no Sean Strickland for sure, but he can bring that kind of size and physicality to the fight. Now, one thing Borralho did that was different was he abandoned the low kicks. And I felt like that was kind of, he had Cannonier stumbling early in the fight. He really did. He was landing low kicks. He switched stances to get the outside kick, because Cannonier's switching stances, and Borralho knows the outside low kick is where it's at. So what he did, he's landing these outside kicks, but he abandoned them as the fight went on. Now, granted, Cannonier did land a really good 1 or 2 strikes on him after a couple of those naked low kicks, but you got to set him up 1-2 low kick or 2 low kick or 1 low kick. You can't just throw him naked. And a lot of the low kicks that Caio Borralho threw were naked. Another thing I liked out of Borralho was the defense. So he's rolling. He's not quite shoulder rolling, but he is predicting. The 2 comes after the 1, so he's gonna have his hand up waiting for it, and he's turning with it, so it negates the impact of the punch a little bit. So, doing that and rolling with it, and that sets up the lead left hook that he had, or the lead right hook if he's in southpaw like he was a lot of this fight. I really like that from Caio Borralho. So what's next? I really like the Israel Adesanya fight. I've mentioned it a couple times already. The Izzy fight is probably the best bet for him just to get into the rankings. Obviously, Adesanya lost last week to Dricus Du Plessis. I don't see them making Caio Borralho versus Dricus yet. You got Sean Strickland, then you got Whitaker and Chimaev that are fighting. Now, Whitaker and Chimaev, he could face the loser. So I see them making Du Plessis versus Strickland next, and then the winner of Chimaev versus Whitaker, especially if Chimaev wins, they'll be the next person. And then after that, I can see the winner of Caio Borralho and maybe Whitaker if he loses, or Khamzat if he loses. Good luck getting Khamzat to the table, though, right? And then lastly, the winner of Nassourdine Imavov versus Brendan Allen, which fights in, I believe, September, October. That's coming up in Paris on the co-main event of, what's his name? Benoit Saint-Denis and Renato Moicano, which is a really fun fight. So the winner of that could want a stay busy fight, and I could see them making Caio Borralho versus Nassourdine Imavov while Khamzat fights Dricus next, or Whitaker fights Dricus next. Now, Jared Cannonier, he still got it. He's still good, and he's not getting better per se because his chin is a little bit weary. You remember in that Nassourdine Imavov fight, he kind of got hurt. But he's still, coming off of this surgery just a couple months ago. 2 months later, that loss to Imavov where he thought he shouldn't have been knocked out. He came out and he gave a really good account of himself. I thought that, Jared Cannonier, ever since the Adesanya fight. So you remember, if you think back to the Izzy fight when he fought for the title, right? He had these very deliberate stance switches from southpaw to orthodox and vice versa. And he had to remember, hey, Israel, I want bladed stance, so I want to be in the same stance as Israel Adesanya. So if Izzy was in orthodox, Jared Cannonier would make sure he was in orthodox, and if Israel Adesanya was in southpaw, he would. And it was kind of one of those unconscious or conscious incompetence things to where he's like, okay, now go. And he never really got anything off. But since then, if you go over and you look at Cannonier's record here, so let's pull it up and let's look at the fights that happened after this Adesanya fight real quick. So you got the Israel Adesanya fight right here. He lost via unanimous decision. He comes back. He beats Sean Strickland via unanimous decision or split decision. Then he beats Marvin Vettori. So those two guys, they're not bad fighters, especially in 22 and 23. Strickland had yet to become champion, and Vettori, he's tough as they get. And you could see he was getting better with that stance switch, a little bit here and a little bit here. And like when he fought Sean Strickland, you could see where he would start, he would swing, he would step through, kind of like we saw with Steve Ercik and Kai Car-France last week, to where Ercik is stepping through. Cannonier did the same thing. He stepped through from southpaw to orthodox and vice versa against Strickland. And Strickland didn't know what to do. He just kind of backed up, said, hey, I don't want nothing to do with this, because Strickland's kind of a, he wants to be a pocket fighter, but he's not always. And if he's not in the pocket on his terms, that. And we saw that against Imavov when he came back. So, you go from 2023 to 24, a year later after that injury. What was it, to his MCL? Yeah, he tore his MCL, and he looked good in that Imavov fight. I felt like he was giving a decent account of himself. And then this fight too, he kind of showed, hey, he's still a very good fighter. The stance switching did work, and Caio Borralho, he's a stance switcher himself. So he was able to take away and fight on the terms. Caio Borralho was able to fight on the terms that he wanted, but also Cannonier could fight on the terms that he wanted as well. So I really liked that coming from Jared Cannonier. Now, there was one point in this fight I was wanting him to do it anymore. So remember we talked about Caio Borralho's pinning the lead hand to grabbing the lead hand, just trying to create an opening, take away the jab, all that good stuff. What Cannonier did, Borralho kind of had his hand on top, and he said, okay, I'm dropping levels, and he brought in 2 good hooks to the body. I like that a lot. So if you can't, if the jab's impeded, you can drop levels, lower it, now his hand's not on top of yours. That's as if he's not grabbing the wrist, right? So this is more of a boxing thing, but that's what happened in this case. Cannonier said, all right, I'm going to drop, boom, now my fist is here, and then I can punch, and you're not getting that advantage of being in the way. And going to the body would have really helped Cannonier a lot more in this fight. So, it kind of stinks to see Cannonier kind of get hurt like this, because that 1-2 right up the pipe really did put him down hard and it hurt him. But at the end of the day, you know, Cannonier, he is 40 years old. He's not the spring chicken anymore. So kind of sucks, but, you know, such is life. This sport is not forgiving. What else was on this card? Let's see here. Tabitha Ricci beat Angela Hill in a close, controversial decision there. No surprise. We had two Ultimate Fighter finals here. Ryan Loder looked good. He got some ground and pound in the second round. Kind of dominated Robert Valentin there. I mean, don't have too much to say about those guys because, you know, they're new. Especially Loder, who's now in the UFC. But it's really cool to see him get a win. Marianne Santos knocked out Kenan Ofili. If I'm saying Ofli or whatever, how you say his name. Really cool. He was just kind of banging in the pockets. That was nice. Michael Morales, I mean, just brutalized Neil Magny. I mean, I like Michael Morales. He's a fun fighter, and I think he has some promise to him. So that was a good one, too. You know, he had a really good ground and pound. Neil Magny's hard to put away just in his old age. You know, he's just one of those old tough guys now, and Morales kind of did the thing. But Gerald Meerschaert came back and submitted Edmen Shahbazyan. Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought? Now, Edmen Shahbazyan, blah, 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 he looked pretty good in the first round. You know, he was sprawling takes. That's always been his weakness. He's always been the guy that's like, if you remember when he was coming up through the ranks, he went in and he fought Derek Brunson. Everybody's like, oh, this is going to be the coming out party of Edmen Shahbazyan. It's the real test. And Brunson just brutalized him. I don't remember if he finished him or not, but he really did just like break him. And ever since then, Shahbazyan, let me go back to the screen here. Edmen Shahbazyan, who's 13-5 now. So yeah, he lost to round 3, just got tired. Jack Hermanson did the same thing. Elbows from the crucifix against Nassourdine Imavov. Fluffy just kind of ran through him. He beat AJ Dobson. But this was kind of one of those things where it's like, man, he's looking better. He's looking a lot better. His takedown defense looked good. He looked very calm. He wasn't too excited. And man, like, he's looking thick. You know, he's looking bigger now for the division. It's like, man, Shahbazyan's kind of coming into his own. Yeah, and then round 2 comes out, and he hurts Gerald Meerschaert. And we're like, oh, wow, he's having a good performance. Meerschaert can't get to the ground. What's he going to do, right? Gerald Meerschaert said, I got an Uno reverse card in my back pocket right here. I got an Uno reverse card, and I'm about to pull it on you. Or a trap card on Yu-Gi-Oh! If that's your thing. He has to get hurt, and he does. He gets hurt, and it was a short little uppercut to the stomach. And down went Gerald Meerschaert. Woo! Down went Gerald Meerschaert. It was crazy, though. Very crazy. So, wow, he looks like and he did a good job of locking down Shahbazyan after, you know, he's getting pounded. So he'd go to guard and he'd be in half guard where Shahbazyan's wailing on him. And then he'd turn over and go to a single leg on all fours. And that was just enough to keep Gerald Meerschaert in the fight. Regardless, Shahbazyan lets him back up. Mistake. He did the right thing. He went back to the body. He was grabbing the clinch. He was kneeing the body where he had just hurt him. That's the right thing, right? That's what you're supposed to do. You've activated my trap card. I got to get a trap card now. I got to buy one. Shahbazyan's tired. And we've known he has a gas tank problem since Derek Brunson. Yeah. So all those great takedown sprawls that he had, that defense, out the window. See ya! Gerald Meerschaert shoots to the outside, knows the knee's coming, so shoots to the outside of the lead leg. The rear knee's coming and doesn't hit. Gets him to the takedown, half guard, gets the mount, arm triangle, gets the finish. Easy as that. Gerald Meerschaert, great comeback win. He had the whole handlebar mustache too. It was kind of cool looking. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Good performance from Gerald Meerschaert. I was happy he got his win. He deserved it. Let's see. Let's keep going down this card, guys. I want to get out of here real quick before you guys. We got to talk about Zach Reese in a minute, though. Francis Marshall beat Dennis, however you say, Bozjuka. Man, I don't know half of these guys. It's crazy. Zach Reese. Let me tell you something about Zach Reese. Zach Reese fights like a guy with a mullet. He has a mullet. He first came on my radar. I remember it like it was yesterday because it wasn't that long ago he fought Julian Marquez, the biggest fumbler of all time, because he had a date set up with Miley Cyrus from a call out in UFC. Weird. And, you know, quick 20-second fight. And I'm like, oh. Because, you know, I picked Marquez to win because I didn't know Zach Reese. I'm like, I picked Marquez to win because he's the veteran. 20 seconds, that verdict pick is out the door. I even think I put a bunch of XP on it. So he comes in. Zach Reese is fighting Jose Medina, somebody who probably shouldn't be in the UFC if we're being honest. He was in there to get beat up, and Zach Reese did just that. Comes out. He's never been out of the first round. He has one loss. He'd gotten finished in the first round, and he's finished everybody else in the first round. 20 seconds in his last fight. He's vicious, and he likes that rear uppercut a lot. Zach Reese loves the rear uppercut. And he used it well, and he hurt Medina. And Medina's like, nah, you ain't got me. You know, the old South Park or whatever. I didn't hear no bell. That was Jose Medina this whole fight. He's just getting battered, especially to the body. And he got hurt to the body a couple times in this fight by Zach Reese. So we get to the end of the first round, and it's apparent that Zach Reese can't put this guy away. Uh-oh, right? Uh-oh. Zach Reese says, okay, we're going to the second round. A little bit more reserved. He'd never been past the third round, but he fought measured in that second and third round. This fight was a decision victory for Zach Reese. I forgot what he said after the fight, if it was about how happy he was with his performance, but regardless, he went in there, rounds 2 and 3, and I was mostly surprised by the takedowns. Now, I know I shouldn't be. I know I really shouldn't, because Zach Reese is, you know, a fun fighter here, and he's kind of, let's see, he's got 2 submission wins, 5 knockouts. So, wait, that doesn't add up. Yeah, I guess it does. Unless they're missing something here. 5, 6, 7. Oh, and 8 is the decision. Okay, yeah. So the UFC debut, he won via, he lost to Cody Brundage with a slam and punches. I got to go rewatch that. I don't quite remember that. But if you look, like, he had a submission against Aaron Phillips, which I think Aaron Phillips is a decent prospect now, huh? No, maybe not. He was on Ultimate Fighter. That's where I remember him from. Okay. But yeah, so he comes out and he gets these takedowns. It was great. So yeah, you know, Zach Reese, he looked good. He got the decision win. Shout out to him because, yeah, he's great. And he just followed me on Twitter, which is, I was like, hey, I just said he fights like a guy with a mullet. He liked it and followed me. I was like, yeah, let's go. What else? Slava Claus got a win. I'm not so high on Slava Claus. He's 8-4-1. I mean, come on. Calvanti beat Josiane Nunez, and then Kong Wang just moved up to 6-0. Now they're going to do the whole Adesanya and Pereira thing here, because she's got to win over Valentina Shevchenko. It's very clear that they want Valentina Shevchenko to win at UFC Noche. But Wayne Kong has a win over Valentina Shevchenko. She had a nice knockout with just a cross right up the middle. Ping! Knocked old girl senseless. Great win for Borralho. Middleweight is for the Brazilians again. You know, Alex Pereira was just the champion. Caio Borralho now's up in the rankings. So Pereira, he's fighting Khalil Roundtree next. So what's he fight like? What's all about that low kick? You got to look at this film study. That's where we talk about just that. About the low kick. Miguel Class comes in and talks about the left hook. It's a full workup on Pereira. Something that you absolutely need to see.